Dr. Evelyn Mora stood alone in the quiet room. The Galactic Hall was massive, filled with bright lights, floating chairs, and delegates from hundreds of worlds. But one Earth seat was always empty. Evelyn felt it deeply. She remembered when she first came here 15 years ago. She was young, full of energy, proud to represent her home. Her voice had shaken as she introduced herself to the council. "I am Evelyn Mora, from Earth. I come in peace." No one had responded. At first, she thought they hadn't heard. Later, she realized they just didn't care. The galaxy called Earth a death world, a place too harsh, its people too dangerous. They saw humans as a risk, unpredictable, emotional, violent. So they ignored her. Every meeting, every year, she came and watched quietly, always polite, always prepared, but never invited to speak. Now, 15 years had passed. Ellen still sat in the same quiet corner. Her hands rested on her lap. Her notes were perfect, her reports ready. But her heart was heavy. Back home, Earth had changed. She missed it terribly. She missed the smell of rain, the sound of cities at night, the feeling of warm air after a thunderstorm. But most of all, she missed her sister, Amelia. Amelia had moved to Mars Base 10 years ago. She was an engineer working on defense systems. They used to talk every day about work, life, music, and their dreams. Now they barely spoke once. Evelyn often looked at old messages. Amelia used to write long, funny notes, but lately the replies were short. "Busy? Everything okay?" Evelyn wanted to say no. She wanted to tell Amelia how lonely she felt, sitting in this silent room among aliens who wouldn't even look her way. She wanted to say how tired she was, tired of trying, tired of being invisible. But she never sent those words, she thought. What would Amelia even say? Maybe she would say, "Why are you still going there? They don't care." Maybe she'd be right. Still, Evelyn couldn't give up. She believed Earth mattered, that humanity had something good to offer. Not just technology or ships, but stories, kindness, courage. She had seen humans risk their lives for strangers. She had seen children build shelters for animals after storms. She had seen people fight hunger, sickness, and fear together. The galaxy didn't know that side of Earth. Evelyn wanted to show them. She opened her bag and took out a small photo. It was old and bent at the edges. Picture of her and Amelia standing outside their childhood home. Amelia's arm was around her shoulder, both smiling. "I miss you," Evelyn whispered. She tapped her wristband and opened a message screen. She stared at it for a long time. "Hey, Amelia. I know it's been a while. I just wanted to say I miss you. I'm still trying, still coming to these meetings, still hoping someone will listen." She paused. Then added, "I don't know if it will ever change, but I want to believe it can, because if we stop believing, then what's the point?" Her finger hovered over the send button. Her heart beat faster. She was afraid her sister wouldn't reply, afraid the silence would continue. But HFY isn't just about strength. It's about hope. It's about trying when no one else will. Evelyn hit send. She closed her eyes and leaned back. The council continued its business. She was still ignored, still unseen. But something was different. She had reached out. She had shared a part of herself. And maybe, just maybe, Amelia would feel that connection again. Maybe. Earth would find its place. And maybe Evelyn wasn't alone after all. Evelyn Mora sat in her room aboard the Terran embassy ship, Aurora's Light. Outside the windows, stars drifted by like glowing dust. The ship was quiet. Her tablet sat on the table, its screen dark. No new messages. It had been 3 days since. She messaged her sister Amelia. No reply. She stared at the ceiling. The soft hum of the engines was the only sound. Loneliness wrapped around her like a cold blanket. Evelyn missed more than just Amelia's voice. She missed the feeling of home. Mars Base might be part of Earth's system, but it felt distant. The people there were different, now busy, efficient, always working. Even Amelia, once full of laughter, now sounded like a stranger in the rare messages they shared. Maybe she's just tired, Evelyn whispered to herself. Maybe she's just busy. but her heart ached. She remembered how they used to sit on the rooftop at night, back on Earth, the city lights blinking far below, stars above. They would talk about everything's dreams, silly ideas, the future. They promised to always stay close, no matter where they were. That promise felt broken. Now, Evelyn got up and walked to the window. She placed her palm on the cool glass and looked out at the stars. So many voices in the galaxy, so many species, so much life. And yet, she felt like Earth was a whisper in a storm barely heard. Easily forgotten. She thought about the Galactic Council. All the meetings, the cold eyes, the polite nods, silence after every speech. No matter what she said, they always looked past her. It was as if Earth didn't exist, but she didn't give up. Not because she was brave, because someone had to keep. Hoping back on Earth, people were still building, still dreaming. Children were learning. Engineers were solving problems. Artists were painting hope onto walls. Even with no support from the galaxy, humans were still moving forward. That was HFY, not fire and pride, but quiet strength and endless hope. Evelyn walked back to the table and opened her tablet. She stared at the message screen again. Still. Nothing from Amelia. She started typing anyway. Hi again. Still no reply from you, I understand. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you don't know what to say. She paused, then continued. But I wanted to tell you something. I saw a child from the HFY species today. She was scared, lost in the hallways of the station. No one helped her. I bent down, offered her my hand, and smiled. She looked at me for a long time, then she smiled back. I think she felt safe. I think maybe she saw a part of us that the others don't see. Evelyn took a deep breath. I'm not giving up, Amelia. I'm still here. I'm still hoping. I don't know how to reach you, or the galaxy, but I won't stop trying. She sent the message. Then she closed her eyes. That night, she dreamed of Earth. She dreamed of the smell of pine trees in the forest, of the sound of waves crashing on a rocky shore, of laughter at night from neighbors below their old apartment. She woke up with tears in her eyes. Just as the sun rose over the curve of a nearby moon, her tablet blinked. One message. From Amelia. Her hands shook as she opened it. Eve. I'm sorry. I saw your first message, but I didn't know what to say. I felt like I left you behind. Like I left everything behind. Evelyn's heart pounded. Amelia's message continued. I've been watching too. Watching the council ignore. You, watching Earth get stronger anyway. You inspire me. I used to dream about the stars. You're living that dream for both of us? I miss you too. Evelyn couldn't stop smiling. One reply, one message. But to her, it was everything. In that moment, she didn't feel alone anymore. The galaxy still ignored her. The seat in the council chamber was still cold, but hope was alive. And as long as humans kept reaching out even through silence, even through stars, they would never truly be alone. That was humanity's strength. That was HFY. The stars looked peaceful, but Evelyn Mora felt anything but. She sat alone at a small table in the observation deck of Aurora's light. Outside the glass, the galaxy stretched endlessly. Blue nebulae drifted softly in the distance. Light from distant suns sparkled across the black sky. It was beautiful. But tonight, Evelyn didn't feel the beauty. She felt the weight of distance. Not just the distance from Earth, but the growing distance between her and Amelia. Amelia's message a few days ago had meant the world to her. It had felt like a spark, like something might return between them. But since then, nothing. No follow-up, no warmth, just silence again. Evelyn checked her messages for the 10th time that day. Nothing. She sighed and leaned back in her chair. She thought about their last real conversation in person. It had been 2 years ago on Earth. They had met at the old family home after their parents passed away. Amelia had stood in the kitchen holding a cup of tea, looking out the window. You don't have to keep going back to that council, she had said. Evelyn had smiled then, softly. I know, but I want to. And Amelia had shaken her head. Hey, don't want us, Eve. Let them stay blind. But Evelyn didn't want to give up. She'd know. She wondered if that moment had been the beginning of the silence between them. Maybe. Amelia didn't understand why Evelyn kept trying. Maybe. She never would. Later that day, Evelyn was called to a small interspecies education event on the space station. The Galactic Union was hosting a culture exchange day, where delegates could present something from their home world. Most worlds displayed glowing crystals, flying drones, or musical devices that shimmered in mid-dash air. Evelyn had nothing fancy. She stood in a corner with a small old object on the table. It was a book, a worn paper book from Earth. People walked by. Some stopped, curious. "What is this?" asked a gentle-voiced being with skin like silver fog. "It's a story," Evelyn said. With a smile, "From Earth, it's about a boy who never gave up. Even when everyone told him it was impossible," the alien blinked. Why didn't he stop? Evelyn touched the book's cover because he loved someone, and love gives us strength. The being nodded slowly. Strange, but beautiful. More visitors came, more questions, more smiles. They didn't laugh at the book. They listened. They asked about Earth's libraries, about human dreams, about the feeling of holding something that wasn't a machine. When the event ended, one young delegate from a small water-based world came up to her. "Earth is different," the delegate said. "You don't try to impress, you try to connect." Evelyn's eyes softened. "That's the only thing that matters," she said. That night, Evelyn wrote another message to Amelia. She didn't ask for a reply. She didn't ask for answers. She just shared. "I was at an event today. I brought a book. An old story." Abel listened, Mel. They actually listened. Maybe it's a small thing, but it meant something. I think some of them finally felt what we are. I'm tired. I miss you, but I'm still here. Still trying. Because I believe if we keep showing who we really are, kind, stubborn, hopeful, they'll see us. Maybe even welcome us. She stared at the words for a long time. Then she sent them. A few hours later, while sipping tea in the dark, her tablet blinked. One message. From Amelia. This time, it wasn't short. "I'm sorry for being silent again. I guess I didn't know how to talk anymore. Thought I had to be cold to be strong. But reading your messages, it reminded me of who we were, who we are. You never changed, Eve. That's your strength. You keep believing in people, Evan, when they turn away. And because of that, maybe they'll turn back one day. I'm proud of you. I hope you know that." Evelyn wiped her eyes. Outside, the stars still shined. The silence was still there. The council was still distant, but she had Amelia. Again, and in that quiet night, the galaxy felt a little smaller, because hope, real hope, had reached across the stars. That was humanity. That was HFY. The space station was quiet as Evelyn walked through the silver hallways. Her footsteps echoed softly. The artificial lights above flickered gently like morning sun, but her heart felt cold. Even after receiving Amelia's last message, kind, thoughtful, hopeful, something still felt missing. They were speaking again. Yes, but not like before. The warmth between them, the closeness, it wasn't fully back. It was like trying to hug someone through glass. You could see them, hear them, but not feel them. Evelyn didn't know how to fix it. She paused in front of a window and looked out. Stars blinked in. Silence. A nearby planet rotated slowly in the distance. It was beautiful, but it didn't bring her peace. She leaned her head against the glass and closed her eyes. Why does this hurt so much? She wanted to be strong. She had told herself 100 times, "You're representing Earth. You're standing for all of humanity. You don't have time to be sad." But deep inside, she wasn't just Earth's delegate. She was a sister, a human being who missed the sound of laughter, the feeling of being understood, the comfort of home. Amelia had moved away to Mars for her dreams. Evelyn had flown to the stars for Earth's future. Both were far from each other now, and even though they were talking again, the distance felt just as wide. Later that day, Evelyn was invited to speak at a small peace gathering on the station. Just a few species, no cameras, no politics. Just stories. Evelyn almost said no. She wasn't sure she had anything left to say, but something told her to go. She stood in front of a round table, soft light above her, and looked at the quiet. Faces before her, aliens of all shapes and colors. Some had wings, some glowed. Some had soft feathers, all watching. She cleared her throat. "I'm from Earth," she said, no reaction. "I've come to the Galactic Council for over 15 years. All that time, Earth was never allowed to speak. We were called dangerous. Too emotional, too wild." She paused. "But I don't believe that's the whole truth." She looked down at her hands. "I've spent my life trying to be heard. And some days, I feel invisible. I feel like nothing I do matters." The room was still. Not cold, just listening. "But something keeps me going," Evelyn said. "And it's not pride. It's not anger. It's love." She looked up. "I love my planet. I love the people there. I love the way humans cry when they hear a song, the way they laugh even during hard times, the way they keep helping strangers even when they've been hurt before. I think that kind of love is the strongest thing in the universe." One of the winged creatures tilted its head. "And does that love give you hope?" Evelyn smiled. Softly, double quotes. "Yes. Even when I feel distant, even when I feel alone, that love brings me back." After the meeting, she walked back to her room. She opened her tablet again. She looked at her past messages with Amelia. They were getting longer again, more honest. But still, she felt that gap. Not a silence, but a space. Evelyn sat down and thought hard. Then she began to type. "Hey Mel, I've been thinking. Maybe it's not enough just to talk. Maybe we need to do something. I miss being close to you. Not just in words. I mean really close. Heart to heart. Do you remember? That old lake we used to go to? The one with the wooden dock and the tiny blue flowers? I want to go there again. With you. I know we're both far. I know we're both busy. But what if we met halfway? Not on Earth, not on Mars, but somewhere in between. There's a little moon near Europa Station. I looked it up. It's peaceful, quiet, no politics, just sky and stars and silence. What if we met there? Just us? No speeches, no missions, just sisters." Evelyn stared at the message. Her heart beat fast. She was scared to hope too much, but she sent it anyway. The next morning, her tablet buzzed. One message from Amelia. "I know the place," the reply said. "I looked it up too, last year. Was too scared to ask. I want to meet there. Let's do it." Evelyn covered her mouth with her hand as her eyes filled with tears. She smiled through them. It wasn't everything yet, but it was a start. One small step. One human reaching out to another across space, across silence, across time. And that was enough. That was the strength of humanity. That was HFY. The shuttle moved slowly through space, quiet and smooth. Inside, Evelyn Mora sat by the window, watching the stars pass by. Her hands were folded tightly on her lap. She was on her way to meet Amelia, her sister, her best friend. The one she had missed for years. They had agreed to meet on a small, quiet moon near Europa Station. It wasn't special, not famous, not busy. But it was halfway between them. A place with no crowds, no rules. No speeches, just space to breathe. Evelyn had dreamed of this for so long, but now that she was going, she felt nervous. What if it's awkward? What if too much time has passed? What if we don't feel close anymore? She pressed her forehead against the window. So many questions. So much space between them. When the shuttle landed, Evelyn stepped out onto the soft soil of the moon. The air was clean and cold, held in by the dome above. The ground was smooth, with patches of gray grass growing along the walkways. A soft wind blew. Made by small machines hidden in the rocks, the place was peaceful, but her heart was loud. She walked to the small bench near the edge of the cliff, overlooking a frozen lake. It was the place they had chosen, the place she hoped her sister would come. She waited and waited. Her hands trembled slightly. Her mind raced. Maybe she changed her mind. Then, far off, she saw a figure walking across the open field, slowly, carefully. A red coat, dark hair pulled back. It was her. Amelia, Evelyn stood up. Neither of them spoke at first, just stared, both frozen in that strange, heavy moment. Then Amelia smiled. Not a big smile, but a real one. Hi, she said softly. Evelyn felt her chest tighten. She nodded. Hi. They walked to the bench and sat down together. Not too close. Not too far. There was silence. But it wasn't cold. After a long minute, Amelia spoke. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. Evelyn looked down. Me neither. Another pause. Amelia kicked a small pebble with her boot. I think we got used to the distance. Became normal. But I never stopped missing. You. I missed you too, Evelyn said. Her voice shook a little. They sat there, shoulders almost touching. I kept thinking, Amelia said, if I wait long enough, maybe she'll reach out again. I did, Evelyn said with a laugh that was half a sigh. Then I stopped. Then started again. Me too. They both laughed. Small, broken laugh. But it felt good. Amelia looked at the sky through the glass dome. You're still going to those council meetings? Evelyn nodded. Yeah, I can't stop. Even when they ignore you? Evelyn smiled gently. Especially then. Amelia turned to her. Why? Why keep fighting for a seat they won't give you? Evelyn thought for a moment. Because Earth matters, she said. Not just because of technology or power, but because of who we are. Get scared, we get angry, but we don't. Give up. We cry, but we try again. We fall, and we help each other stand. That's what I want them to see. That's what I want you to remember. Amelia's eyes softened. I forgot that, she whispered. I've been working on machines, weapons, shields. I stopped thinking about people. About us. You're still human, Mel, Evelyn said. We both are. That's what it makes us strong. And they sat there for a long time, watching the frozen lake shine under the light. Then Amelia reached into her coat and pulled out a small, round object. It was a stone. A smooth, blue one. You remember this? She asked. Evelyn gasped. That's from the lake back home. Amelia nodded. I kept it. All these years. Evelyn took it in her hand, holding it gently. It feels warm, she whispered. It's just us, Amelia said. We still have that warmth, even across space. They didn't fix everything that day. They didn't solve all the pain, but they took a step. One real, human step. Together, as Evelyn flew back to the station later, she held the stone in her hand. Her heart felt lighter. The galaxy was still big. The council was still cold, but her sister was no longer far, and that meant everything. Because even in silence, even in distance, humanity reaches out and never lets go. That's what makes them strong. That's what makes them... Back aboard the Aurora's light, Evelyn Morris sat alone in the ship's small communication room. The walls were lined with screens, blinking softly. Messages from Earth, Mars, Luna Base, and other human colonies came and went through silent light. But the screen in front of her was dark. It was the private channel she had once shared with Amelia. They had spoken again after meeting on the moon. It was warm. It was good. But now days had passed. No messages. No calls. Again, Evelyn stared at the empty screen and felt that old sadness rise inside her. Is it always going to be like this? Is it short moments of closeness? ... Then silence again? Tried to be understanding. Amelia was working deep inside Mars Defense Command. It was busy, stressful, and important. Still, Evelyn wished she could feel her sister's presence, even just through words. The silence was not cruel, but it was cold. She typed a message, paused, then deleted it. Then typed again. Hey, thinking of you. Hope things are okay, miss you. Stared at it. It didn't feel like enough. But what else could she say? She hit send. The screen blinked, then went still again. She sighed and leaned back in her chair. Later that day, Evelyn joined a meeting with a small team of young alien students. They were studying human communication styles. Evelyn had been asked to give a talk on how humans build trust. She almost said no. She didn't feel strong, but she went anyway. She stood in front of the group, holding a small whiteboard in her hand. So she began, "Humans are complicated. We speak a lot. But sometimes we don't know how to say what we really feel." The students listened closely. "Sometimes we hide our feelings behind jokes, or we say I'm fine when we're not. But it's not because we want to lie. It's because we're scared. Scared of rejection. Scared of saying too much. Scared of being alone." She drew two simple stick figures on the board. Human connection isn't about big speeches or perfect words. It's about trying, even when it's hard. She smiled gently. When someone reaches out to even, if it's just one message, one word, that's a big thing for us. That's our strength. Because no matter how far we are, we keep trying. One of the students raised their hand. "So, is hope part of your trust?" Evelyn nodded. "Yes, hope is everything." That night, Evelyn walked to the observation deck again. She sat near the window and looked out at the dark. She missed her sister. She missed long talks. She missed knowing what Amelia was feeling. But she remembered something she had said to the students. Trying is enough. So she pulled out her notebook and started to write. Not a report, not a message. A story about two sisters separated by space, about silence and waiting, about love that never truly disappeared, about one of them sending messages into the stars, unsure if the other would ever answer, but never giving up. She didn't write it for others. She wrote it for herself, because telling stories was a human thing. It was how they stayed alive inside, how they healed, how they connected. The next morning, her tablet buzzed. A message. From Amelia. Evelyn's heart jumped. She opened it quickly. "Hey, I've been meaning to write. I've been thinking about everything. You, the moon, the silence. Between us, I didn't know what to say, but I read your last message, and I kept reading it again and again. I miss you too. I've been scared to get close again, not because I don't love you, but because I do. I thought if I stayed quiet, I wouldn't get hurt, but I was wrong. Want this distance anymore? Let's fix it. For real this time." Evelyn covered her mouth as her eyes filled with tears. It wasn't just a reply. It was a bridge. A hand reaching back. Later, she sat down at her desk and replied, "I feel the same. I don't want to lose you again. Let's build something new. Not like before, but stronger. Something that lasts, even across stars." In the dark of space, two sisters began to grow close again. Not perfectly, not suddenly, but honestly. Because humanity, even with all its flaws, keeps reaching, keeps trying, keeps hoping. That's what makes them strong. That's what makes them. The station lights dimmed as evening settled over Aurora's light. Evelyn Mora stood by the window, watching Earth rise slowly above the edge of a nearby moon. It looked peaceful, small, blue, glowing softly in the darkness. She smiled gently. It had been weeks since she and Amelia began talking, again truly talking. The distance was still there in some ways. They lived far apart. They had different lives, different duties, but the space between their hearts had grown smaller. Every evening, they now shared a voice call. Nothing fancy. Just a few minutes. A laugh. A memory. A moment. Tonight's call hadn't come yet. But Evelyn wasn't worried. This time, silence didn't feel cold. Like a pause in a song before the music returned, she looked down at the stone in her hand, the small blue one Amelia had given her on the moon. It reminded her that even in space, even after years of drifting apart, love could still survive. She sat at her desk and opened a file marked Earth's Voice. It was her final report for the Galactic Council next week. She would stand once more in the assembly hall, just as she had for the last 15 years, but this time felt different. Not because the council had changed, They hadn't. Not because the galaxy suddenly accepted Earth. It didn't, but because Evelyn had changed. She no longer felt small or alone. She had reconnected with the one person who mattered most to her heart, and that made her
strong.
She began typing. This is not a speech to ask for a seat. It's not a demand or a warning. This is a message from a world that still believes in connection. We are human. We love. We struggle. We fall apart. Sometimes we drift away from the people we care about. But we never stop trying. We send messages into the dark. We write letters. We tell stories. We hold on to old memories like they are treasures. And when someone replies, even after all the silence, we don't give up. That is who we are. That is our voice. As she typed, her tablet blinked. Incoming call. Amelia Moravellan smiled and tapped the screen. Her sister's face appeared. She looked tired but happy. Hey, sis, Amelia said softly. Hey, Evelyn replied. They didn't speak for a moment, just smiled at each other, letting the silence stretch comfortably between them. Amelia looked away briefly. Today was hard. Work was nonstop. But I kept thinking about something. What? That night by the lake? When we were kids, you remember? The storm came, and we ran under the tree, holding that big green blanket like a tent. Evelyn laughed, and we pretended we were inside a spaceship. Yeah, Amelia smiled. You said we were flying to the stars, just the two of us. I always wanted to see the stars with you, Amelia nodded. And now we kind of are. The screen was quiet again, but not empty. Amelia's voice turned soft. Thanks for not giving up on me. Evelyn's eyes grew wet. Thanks for coming back. They sat like that, just two sisters on different rocks in space, connected by a thin line of light and something stronger. Hope, after the call ended. Evelyn finished her message to the council. She stood up, stretched, and walked back to the window. Earth still shined, but now she didn't feel like a small voice in the dark. She felt like a spark, and she knew there were more sparks out there, people reaching, people trying, people hoping just like her. That was what it meant to be human. Not perfect, but persistent. Not loud, but full of heart. And even if the galaxy didn't listen yet, Evelyn would keep speaking. Even if Amelia drifted now and then, Evelyn would keep reaching, because that's what humans do. They love, they forgive, they return. In a galaxy full of silence, humanity keeps whispering, we are still here, we still care, we still believe. Someday someone will hear. That is HFY. That is hope. That is home.